Hello everyone! In today's video, we are going to look at the most haunted story of the 18th century, and this is based on a true story. So it's 1739, and you are living in New England. It was the beginning of the 18th century. For the last 2 decades, this region has been relatively peaceful after the war with France and Native Americans. But that may be about to change because rumors have started spreading across New England of French providers coming to raid the coast. This was nothing new. During the war, providers were given ships and weapons by the government to attack the enemy, and they would then keep the gold, silver, and other valuables for themselves. Now, one such privateer was Jean Bart. He was given a ship by the French government, and he was given permission to attack any English ship that he came across. But now peace had broken out between these two nations, so he was ordered to stop his attacks. But like so many pirates, he ignored these orders. Bart and his crew would target merchant ships carrying valuable goods from Europe to America. They would board these vessels and demand the cargo, but their main goal was to capture the ships and then sell them in port. This is where the story of our haunted house begins. On one such raid, Bart and his men had attacked and taken control of a ship. They found out that the vessel was carrying casks of cider, bales of wool, pipes of wine, chests of flax, and money. But when they got on board, they noticed something strange. There was no crew. The ship had been abandoned, so they took it back to France. They sold off the cargo and split up the profits. Then Bart set sail once more to find another ship to plunder. He was sailing along the coast of New England when his men spotted a light in the distance. Bart ordered his ship to sail toward the light, and soon they saw that it was coming from a large manor house on the cliffs overlooking the sea. The windows were lit up, giving the impression that there were people inside. Bart decided to sail into the darkness and drop anchor off the coast. Then he and his crew rowed to shore and hid in the bushes near the house. Bart knew that if the owner found him, he would be killed, so he was planning an escape route just in case. One of his crew members, however, was not as cautious. He went too far and was spotted. A man came out of the front door and began walking toward the noise. When the crewman realized that he had been seen, he tried to run, but the man had spotted him. He shouted for help and ran inside. In a few moments, he was back out with a lantern and a musket.
Ouch.
The pirate who had been hiding in the bushes was quick, though, and he grabbed his musket and fired. The man fell to the ground with a bullet wound in his chest. The rest of the crew opened fire, though, and before long, the man was dead. They then pulled their loot, which consisted of money and jewels, and sailed away in the darkness. One of the things that Bart did was to hire a guide to take him to uninhabited islands around the coast, where he could safely hide his treasure. Years passed, and one day a young man named John Butler was hired to take Bart to one of these spots. After traveling all day, they finally reached a small island. As they made camp that night, Butler heard strange noises. At first he thought that they were just the sounds of animals moving around, but then he heard voices and footsteps. That same night, he also saw a figure standing over him, dressed in 18th century clothing. After getting over his fright, he told Bart about the incident. Bart didn't believe him and said that he was just making things up. Butler, though, was adamant that he had seen something strange, and he wanted to leave the island. Bart told him to get in the boat, and they set sail back to the mainland. But this is where things get strange. The next day, they traveled to another island. That night, Butler heard the same sounds again, and he saw the same figure. Again, he was so frightened that he begged to be let go. Bart agreed, and Butler swam from the boat to the shore. It wasn't until years later that he found out what had happened on that island. A local priest had told someone that there was a cemetery on that island, but when they went to look for it, they couldn't find it. The locals believed that this was the island that Bart had taken the loot to, and they searched every part of the island. But after 3 days, they had found nothing. John Butler, however, kept seeing the ghostly figure in his dreams. He would wake up in the middle of the night, shaking with fear. Even years later, whenever he walked past the old harbor, he would remember the sound of footsteps and animal noises. He also remembered the shadowy figure standing over him. In reality, it wasn't just Butler who experienced strange things here. Locals reported seeing strange lights on the island, leading them to believe that Bart and his crew were still there. Some even said that they saw the ghost of Bart himself, pacing the beach at night, always looking out to sea. It was almost a century later when archaeologists discovered the truth. They found the remains of the French privateer and his crew on that very same island. But how did they die? Well, it's believed that they were either killed by rival privateers or they died of disease. But it's also possible that they were killed by the locals. You see, word got around that a band of pirates were using the island as a base. So some of the local militia landed on the island and opened fire on the pirates, killing them all. It's unknown why the bodies were never removed from the island, but it does explain why Butler and others saw ghosts there. It seems that they weren't the only ones who saw these ghosts. On another occasion, a fisherman was boating near the island when he suddenly capsized. He struggled to get himself upright, but to no avail. Just as he was about to give up, a hand reached down and pulled him onto the boat. When he looked around, he realized that there was no one there. But he swore that he felt a hand grab his arm. He began shouting and making a lot of noise, and this attracted the attention of fishermen nearby. They came to his aid and helped him get the boat back to shore. To this day, people who traveled to this island report hearing strange noises and seeing strange figures. Many believe that these are the ghosts of Bart's crew. So what do you think? Were these really ghosts, or was there another explanation? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Also, make sure to subscribe for more videos like these. Thank you for watching. Bye.